let's see. Oh, what a day, what a day, what a day. That certainly was an intake for the ages. A hippomaniac, a klatsomaniac, and a rhinoteloexomaniac. Those poor horses. And the one before that. Not trying to kink shame, but I am not entirely sure a body pillow can consent. So require greater analysis, I think. Let's see. Oh, hello. I'm sorry, I did not see you come in. Yes, you are right on time for your appointment, and I do apologize for the wait. It seems that you are in our waiting room for, 514 years. Well, it is quite a long time, isn't it? Well, yes. Yes, it's not unusual, unfortunately, under our present system. You see, it's a first-come, first-serve sort of framework around here, and I'm afraid that human beings were created rather late in the birth order, which means you are towards the back of the queue. Yes, you see, we had to start with the single-celled organisms. Surprisingly, they did not have much to say. And then we moved on to the ferns, then the insects, the lungfish. Shockingly libertine behavior out of those lungfish. Yes, most unexpected. And then, of course, the dinosaurs. The early mammals, the giant ground sloths, which took a good amount of time. I would say 45 years or so per ground sloth. And then the Australopithecines, the Homo erectus, the Neanderthal, and now you. So, let me introduce myself. My name is Jojoriel, and I will be performing your intake examination today. Oh, you don't know where you are? Really? Well, after 514 years in purgatory, I thought you might have some idea, but... Yes, it's, well, sort of heaven. Actually, to be more specific, this is the process that takes place directly before your entry into heaven, and that in fact determines whether you will be entering or not. And in terms of whether it can actually be properly called heaven, that depends largely on your cultural background. It could be described variously as paradise, as Elysium, even as nirvana if you want to stretch that definition to its breaking point. But right now, what we are going to determine, regardless of the terminology used, is whether or not you will be qualified to enter. No reason to be nervous. It's only your immortal soul. What do you mean? No, yes, of course. Everybody's undergoing this process. Did you miss the memo, my darling? Yes, the world has ended. Yes, that flash of light that you saw outside 514 years ago on your last day on Earth, that was Armageddon. Oh dear. You thought a transformer had exploded somewhere in the neighborhood. Aren't you adorable? No, you see, it's nothing specific that you did as a species, but due to the general abandonment of the Creator's first imperative to his creations, he decided that it would be better to wipe the slate clean and start over. What is the imperative? Well, the imperative is to make sure that you take care of one another, and once the price of insulin rose above $2,000 per dose, it was decided that was no longer being prioritized by humanity, so we're going to have another go at it. You and all your fellow creations on Earth will be transferred to the afterworld, or one of a number of different afterworlds, depending on the determinations made by this intake process. And then we will be populating a new Earth with new species, and we're going to give it another try. be sad. Hey, listen, my darling. It's just a planet. And there's millions of planets, billions of planets scattered all over the galaxy. It's just a rock. What's important here is your next step. I think that this is going to be a bold, new journey for you. Now, the precise nature of that journey is going to be determined by the questions I ask you now. So, shall we get started? First, I need to know your name. Yes, after half a millennia in the afterlife waiting room, I might nearly forget my name as well. Good. And your age. Yes, that's the age you were at the time of earthly annihilation. All right. Okay. Place of birth. Oh, really? You know, I just met someone else from there. Rejected, unfortunately, from the gates of paradise. You see, it seems he was very heavily involved in multi-level marketing, which is frowned upon here. Yes, young living essential oils, to be precise. Yes, anybody who had a true interest in the well-being of their fellow man would not be telling them that they could cure their hemorrhoids by pouring frankincense into their belly buttons. So, yes, his motivations were certainly suspect, and he was disposed of accordingly. Don't worry, I'm sure that won't happen to you. Your height and your weight. Yes. Oh, yes, those, of course, can be altered should you gain access to heaven. Yes, you may choose your own height, weight, physical appearance, attributes. And that will all be suddenly within your power to control. Of course, that's if you gain access to heaven. To continue, have you ever lied? Yes. All right. And how many times have you lied? Just a ballpark is fine. Can't even ballpark it. Not a great sign. All right. Shall I just put down an even 10,000? In my experience with humanity so far, that is about the average. Yes. And if you can't even remember, then I would suggest it's at least that many. All right. Next question. Have you ever stolen? And no, stealing hearts does not count. All right. Ooh, bit of a shoplifting phase in middle school, was there? Well, not unusual, not unusual. Not great, though, in terms of your final score on this intake exam, I'm afraid. All right, well, perhaps you'll improve as we progress through the questions. This next one, have you ever murdered someone? Good, yes, no, that is a gimme for most people. But this next one tends to sort the wheat from the chaff. Have you ever wanted to murder someone? Really interesting. No, I suppose if I had a co-worker who used the phrase "it is what it is" to excess, I might also be drawn into some homicidal sentiments, but nevertheless, the standards for humankind are a bit higher than that, so I'm afraid I'm going to have to dock you points. That's all right, that's all right. No, you're not done for yet. There are still more questions to go. Have you ever been cruel to those weaker than you? And yes, that includes animals, that includes the homeless, that includes, depending on your culture, racial and sexual minorities, that includes children, that includes the mentally ill. Have you ever been cruel to any of these populations? Good. That's very good. No, the fact that you have never knowingly exploited the weak is absolutely a positive mark on your record. In fact, in most cases, those that harm animals or children are immediately denied access. It's one of the few, how can I say, absolutes included in this intake exam. Good, because there'd be no point in continuing if you had answered yes. All right then. Have you ever turned your back on those in need? Was it ever in your power to make someone's life better, more comfortable, less desperate, and you refused to do so? Well, again, as I mentioned, treating each other well is the categorical imperative announced by our Creator, and she does not take it lightly when we fail to fulfill that basic requirement. All right. Well, none of that sounds particularly egregious, so let's just continue and see how this shakes out, shall we? Have you ever said bad words? Well, damn it, haven't we all? Unfortunately, as I am an angel, I am permitted the occasional vulgarity. Human beings, not so much. I regret to inform you. No. Yes, that is going to be another negative mark. All right. This is the final question. Have you ever posted an image macro on social media with a picture of a minion from the movie Minions? Oh dear. And what was the minion doing in the picture? Was it the minion in the thong? Oh, thank God for that. Well, all right then. Yes, that's one of those other near absolutes. It's not impossible to get into heaven if you've posted the minion in the thong, but it is rather tricky, I'm afraid. All right then. Okay, so if I just tally up your points real quick. Here, carry the 7. Right. And it looks like your final score on our intake exam is negative 5,029.38. With that in mind, I would like to welcome you to paradise. You have passed. Oh, surprised? Well, no, it's not strictly about the numerical total. You have been reflective throughout the duration of this intake process. You have been mature. You have shown no attempt to obfuscate or justify your misdeeds. And our records indicate that you were the same way in life and made constant attempts to improve yourself. Yes, so that is of course all taken into account, and it is decided that you are a good person. Yes. Yes, of course you're a good person. Look, I've done the intake for millions of human beings now, and I can say that as the average goes, granted we're grading on a curve, you are one of the top percentiles. Were you under the impression that you were a bad person? Did someone tell you that you were a bad person? Well, we all have our weaknesses and our less than worthy moments, but when it comes to people like that, sometimes their insistence that you are a bad person is actually a deflection. Yes, it's very unfortunate, particularly with narcissists. They do tend to reverse victim and offender. Yes, in order to compensate, for the shabby treatment that they are inflicting upon you, they will generally insist that you are the one who is wronging them, and that is unfortunately not unusual. No, you're not perfect. Your test results certainly bear that out. But you are in no way a bad person. In fact, you are kind. You are gentle. You are harmless. You are humble. You are empathetic. You are sincere. You are open-hearted. You are warm. You are caring. You are observant of others' feelings and needs. And most importantly, you are loving and loved. You are a good person, my darling. You are a good person. Yes, such a good person, in fact, that you will now be entering paradise with my blessing. So if you don't mind, I'm just going to lean forward and I'm going to place my mark, my sigil, right behind your ear. And the bearer of this mark is recognized as an official denizen of paradise. No one will question you. Everyone will know that you have truly earned your place in the hereafter. Oh, my sweet darling, I wish you all the best in the ages to come. Best of luck in eternity, my dear. Farewell.